The bass thundered through Onyx, Chicago's most exclusive nightclub, where admission required either a platinum credit card or a name that mattered. I had neither, but my best friend Mia had convinced the bouncer that we were meeting someone inside. A lie that had worked surprisingly well. "This place is insane," Mia shouted over the music, her eyes wide as she took in the crystal chandeliers hanging above the dance floor, the VIP booths lined with black velvet, and the beautiful people who looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. I tugged at the hem of my borrowed dress, a sleek black number that Mia had insisted I wear. "We shouldn't be here. I have to be at the publishing house at 8 tomorrow. "Riley Chen, you are 26 years old and you've been working 70-hour weeks for the past 2 years. One night won't kill you." Mia grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the bar. "Besides, tonight is about celebrating your promotion to senior editor. That's huge." It was huge. After countless late nights, rejected manuscripts, and coffee-fueled editing sessions in my tiny studio apartment, I'd finally earned the recognition I'd been working toward, but celebrating in a place where a single cocktail probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget felt surreal. The bartender, a woman with purple hair and sleeve tattoos, slid 2 drinks across the bar without asking what we wanted. "From the gentleman in VIP Section 3, she said with a knowing smile. Mia and I exchanged glances. "We didn't order anything," I said. "He knows." The bartender nodded toward the elevated VIP area, where individual booths were separated by frosted glass partitions that somehow managed to be both revealing and private. I followed her gaze and felt my breath catch. Even from this distance, I could make out the man who'd sent the drinks. He sat alone in the center booth, his posture relaxed but somehow commanding. Dark hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles and intensity. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than my car, if I had a car, and he was looking directly at me. "Holy shit," Mia breathed. "That's Sebastian Kane." The name meant nothing to me. "Who?" "You really need to read something other than manuscripts. Sebastian Kane. Real estate empire, venture capital, rumored connections to..." She lowered her voice. "To some pretty dark stuff. There are stories about his family." "Stories?" "Like organized crime stories. Nothing proven, but everyone knows the Kane family isn't just rich. They're dangerous rich." I looked back at the VIP section. Sebastian Kane raised his glass in a subtle toast, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. There was something predatory about that smile, something that should have sent me running for the exit. Instead, I felt a rush of heat that had nothing to do with the crowded club. "We should return these," I said, even as my fingers curled around the cold glass. "Are you insane? Do you know how many women in this club would kill to get noticed by him? Then they can have him." I set down the drink and turned away, deliberately breaking eye contact. Something about the way he looked at me, like he could see through all my carefully constructed walls, made me deeply uncomfortable. Or maybe it was that I liked it. "Riley, wait," Mia started, but her words were cut off by a commotion near the VIP section. A drunk man in an expensive suit was arguing loudly with one of the security guards, his face red and his movements aggressive. "Do you know who I am? I can buy this entire fucking club." The guard, impressively calm, was trying to escort him out, but the drunk man shoved him, hard, sending the guard stumbling backward, right into Mia. She fell hard, her knee cracking against the edge of the bar platform. I was at her side instantly, helping her up. Blood seeped through a tear in her dress. "Oh my God, Mia, are you okay?" "I'm fine, just, ow, shit, that hurts." The drunk man hadn't even noticed. He was still yelling, drawing a crowd. Anger flooded through me, hot and righteous. I stood and marched toward him. "Hey," I shouted, "you need to apologize." He turned, sneering. "Who the fuck are you?" "Someone with basic human decency. You hurt my friend. Not my problem, sweetheart. Maybe she should watch where she's standing." The casual dismissal, the smug entitlement in his voice. Something inside me snapped. Before I could think about what I was doing, I grabbed a drink from the nearest table and threw it in his face. The club went silent. The man stood there, dripping with what smelled like expensive whiskey, his mouth hanging open in shock. Then his expression darkened. "You little bitch." He reached for me, but he never made contact. Sebastian Kane materialized between us like a shadow given form. One moment there was empty space. The next he was there, his hand wrapped around the drunk man's wrist with enough force to make the man cry out. "Touch her," Sebastian said, his voice low and deadly calm, "and they'll be finding pieces of you in the Chicago River for weeks." The drunk man's face went pale. "Mr. Kane, I didn't know, I wasn't going to. Marco will show you out." Sebastian released him with a slight push, and two massive security guards appeared to flank the drunk man. "And you're banned from any Kane property. All of them." They dragged him away, and the club slowly returned to its normal rhythm, though I could feel dozens of eyes on us. Sebastian turned to me, and up close, he was devastating. Slate-gray eyes that seemed to see everything, a jaw that could have been carved from marble, and an intensity that made the air between us feel charged with electricity. "That was either very brave or very stupid," he said. "Probably both." My heart was pounding, adrenaline and something else, something dangerous, flooding my system. But he hurt my friend. His eyes flickered to where Mia sat at the bar, being tended to by the purple-haired bartender. "Your friend will be taken care of. My head of security is calling the club's doctor." "That's not necessary. It's done." He said it with the absolute certainty of someone who was used to his commands being followed without question. "Now, about that drink you threw. He deserved it." "I agree." That predatory smile returned. "But you threw a 20-year-old scotch. That's sacrilege. Send me the bill. I'll pay you back in." "Probably a decade." He laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face from intimidating to almost beautiful. "I like you. What's your name?" "Riley. Riley Chen." "Riley." He said it slowly, like he was tasting the syllables. "I'm Sebastian, but you already know that." "My friend recognized you. I don't really follow." I gestured vaguely at him, at the VIP section, at the club itself. "This world." "What world do you follow? The one with deadlines and red pens and finding new voices in slush piles?" His eyebrow lifted. "You're an editor." "Senior editor as of today." "Well, yesterday technically, since it's past midnight." "Then this is a celebration." He gestured toward his VIP booth. "Join me for a drink? A proper one this time." Every rational part of my brain screamed that this was a terrible idea. Men like Sebastian Kane didn't invite women like me into their world for innocent reasons. And according to Mia, he was dangerous. Not just rich, but connected to things that existed in shadows and silence. But when I looked into those gray eyes, I saw something I hadn't expected. Genuine interest. Not the usual male assessment of whether I was worth pursuing, but actual curiosity, like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. "One drink," I heard myself say. His smile widened. "One drink." Sebastian's VIP booth was a study in controlled luxury. Black leather seating formed a semicircle around a glass table that reflected the light from a small chandelier overhead. The frosted glass walls provided privacy while still allowing glimpses of the club beyond. A perfect metaphor for the man himself, I thought. Visible but unreachable. He poured something amber and expensive from a crystal decanter. "This is actually drinkable, unlike what you threw. I'm not much of a drinker." "Good. Neither am I, usually. But tonight seems to call for it." He handed me a glass and sat across from me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something dark and woody with an edge of spice. "Tell me about being an editor." "It's not very exciting, mostly reading manuscripts, working with authors, fighting for books I believe in." "You're wrong about it not being exciting. Passion is always exciting, and you clearly love what you do. I can see it in your eyes when you talk about it." The observation was unnervingly accurate. "What about you? What does a real estate mogul do for excitement? Build things, acquire things, occasionally destroy things that need destroying." The last part sent a chill down my spine. "That sounds ominous." "Does it frighten you?" "Yes." "Good." He leaned back, studying me with those penetrating eyes. "Fear is honest. Most people in your position would pretend not to be afraid, would flatter and flirt and try to figure out what I want to hear. But you just told me the truth. I'm terrible at games. I don't have the energy for them." "What do you have energy for?" "Stories. Finding the ones that matter, the ones that change people." I took a sip of the whiskey, and it burned smoothly down my throat. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, daughter of immigrants who worked 3 jobs between them to keep food on the table. Books were my escape. They showed me that there was a bigger world out there, that I could be more than my circumstances. Now I get to help other people find that same escape. Sebastian was quiet for a moment, his expression unreadable. Your parents must be proud. My father died when I was 20, heart attack at his second job. My mother, she doesn't understand why I chose publishing. It doesn't pay well, doesn't have the prestige of being a doctor or lawyer, but she supports me anyway. And that bothers you, that you haven't been able to give her the life she deserves. How did he know that? How could he see so clearly into the guilt I carried? I send her money when I can. It's never enough. Nothing ever feels like enough when you love someone. He said it with a weight that suggested personal experience. My father died 5 years ago, left me an empire I never asked for, and expectations I can never fulfill. The Kane Empire. You've heard the stories then. Some. My friend said your family has connections. Connections. He smiled without humor. Such a polite word for it. The truth is uglier and more complicated than the rumors, which is saying something. My grandfather built his fortune through methods that would make your hair curl. Legitimate businesses mixed with less legitimate ones. By the time my father took over, things were mostly clean, but the old associations remained. The old debts, the old enemies. And now you? Now I'm trying to build something entirely legitimate while managing the ghosts of the past. It's a delicate balance. I shouldn't have asked the next question, shouldn't have engaged with this darker side of him. But something in his voice, a thread of weariness, made me want to understand. Is it lonely, being between two worlds like that? His eyes locked onto mine, and I saw genuine surprise there. Yes, more lonely than I can adequately express. Everyone wants something from me. My money, my influence, my connections. But no one wants to know the man behind all that. Maybe they're afraid of what they'll find. Maybe I am too. The vulnerability in those words hit me harder than it should have. This powerful, dangerous man was admitting to fear, to loneliness, to the weight of expectations. He was human underneath the expensive suit and the carefully constructed image. Riley. Mia appeared at the entrance to the booth, her knee bandaged and her eyes wide with barely contained excitement. The doctor said I'm fine, just a bad scrape. But also, holy shit, you're having drinks with Sebastian Kane. Sebastian stood smoothly, extending his hand. You must be the friend. I'm Sebastian. Mia, huge fan. I mean, not in a weird way, just in a you're incredibly successful and gorgeous way. She shook his hand, then immediately cringed. And I just said that out loud. Riley, I'm going to go die of embarrassment now. Take your time. She fled before I could stop her, leaving me alone with Sebastian again. He was laughing, genuine amusement lighting up his features. Your friend is charming. She has no filter after 9p. The world would be better if more people spoke without filters. He sat back down, but this time he was closer, his knee almost touching mine. Riley, I want to see you again. The directness caught me off guard. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because we're from different worlds. Because you're... I gestured at him, at the booth, at everything he represented. This, and I'm me, working 60-hour weeks in a shared office, eating ramen for dinner, taking the L train home to a studio apartment in Logan Square. None of those things matter to me. They should. Men like you don't date women like me. They have flings or arrangements or whatever you want to call them. And I'm not interested in being someone's temporary distraction. His jaw tightened. Is that what you think you'd be? Isn't it? No. He said it with such intensity that I believed him. I've been surrounded by people who want me for my name, my money, my influence my entire life. Tonight, a woman threw a drink at an asshole to defend her friend, then told me she was afraid of me instead of pretending otherwise. You're the first real thing I've encountered in years. So no. Riley, you wouldn't be a temporary distraction. You'd be someone I actually want to know. My heart was racing. This couldn't be real. Men like Sebastian Kane didn't say things like this to women like me. I don't know. Have dinner with me tomorrow night. I'll pick you up at 7. I didn't say yes. You didn't say no. He pulled out his phone. Your number. I should have refused. Should have walked away from this dangerous attraction before it consumed me, but instead, I found myself rattling off my number, watching as he saved it with my name. I'll text you the details. He stood and offered his hand to help me up. His palm was warm, his grip strong but careful. Thank you for tonight, Riley. You reminded me what genuine interaction feels like. It was just conversation. Exactly. His thumb brushed across my knuckles, a gesture so small and yet so intimate that it sent electricity shooting up my arm. I'll see you tomorrow. I found Mia waiting by the exit, her eyes huge with questions. She didn't say anything until we were in the Uber heading home, and then it all came pouring out. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God! You just spent an hour in Sebastian Kane's private booth. What did you talk about? What did he say? Did he ask you out? He asked you out, didn't he? I can tell by your face. He invited me to dinner. Mia grabbed my shoulders. Riley, do you understand what this means? Sebastian Kane doesn't date. He's been linked to models and actresses, but those relationships last maybe a month. He's never been photographed with the same woman twice. And he asked you out. Which is exactly why I should say no. I'm not interested in being conquest number however many. Or, Mia said slowly, maybe he sees something in you that's different. Maybe you're exactly what someone like him needs. I thought about his confession of loneliness, the weariness in his voice when he talked about his father's legacy. Maybe Mia was right. Or maybe I was being spectacularly naive. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Dinner tomorrow at 7. Dress however you feel comfortable. I want you to be yourself. Sebastian. Before I could overthink it, I typed back, how do you know yourself isn't sweatpants and a book? His response came immediately. Then wear sweatpants and bring the book. I just want to see you again. Mia, reading over my shoulder, squealed. Riley Chen, if you don't go to this dinner, I will never forgive you. It's probably a mistake. Then it's a mistake worth making. She squeezed my hand. You've spent the last 2 years building your career, working yourself to exhaustion, putting everyone and everything before yourself. For once, do something just because you want to. Take a chance on something exciting. I looked at Sebastian's text, at the casual intimacy of his words, and felt something unfurl in my chest. Something that felt dangerously like hope. I'll be ready at 7, I typed, but fair warning, I'm still slightly terrified of you. Good, came his reply. Fear means you're paying attention. I promise to be worth the risk. I changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple navy dress that fell just above my knees, professional enough to feel like myself, but nice enough for whatever restaurant Sebastian had in mind. My studio apartment looked like a textile bomb had exploded, clothes scattered across every surface. Mia had offered to come over and help, but I'd declined. I needed time to think, to process what I was doing. Dating Sebastian Kane, even casually, meant stepping into a world I didn't understand. A world where drinks cost hundreds of dollars, and security guards materialized out of thin air, and families had connections that existed in whispered rumors. At 6:55, my phone buzzed. Downstairs. I grabbed my small purse and headed down the 3 flights of stairs from my apartment. The building was old, the hallway walls marked with decades of wear, the carpet stained and threadbare. It was cheap, which was why I could afford it, but seeing it through Sebastian's eyes made me suddenly acutely aware of how different our lives were. He was waiting on the sidewalk beside a sleek black Mercedes, wearing dark jeans and a charcoal gray shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow, he made casual look more expensive than most people made formal. Riley. His smile was warm, genuine. You look beautiful. You look. I gestured vaguely at him. Like someone who doesn't belong in this neighborhood. He glanced at my building, taking in the chipped paint and the broken intercom. This is where you live? Senior editors at mid-size publishing houses aren't exactly rolling in money, but it's mine, and it's in a good location, and my landlord is decent about fixing things when they break. How much is your rent? That's a rude question. I'm serious. How much? $1,500 a month. Why? His expression darkened. For a studio with no security and ancient infrastructure, you're being robbed. Welcome to Chicago real estate. I moved toward the car, but he caught my hand. Riley, I own buildings throughout the city. I could get you into a much better place for half that cost. No. No? I appreciate the offer, but I'm not moving into one of your buildings. That's... I searched for the right word. Complicated. Understanding flickered in his eyes. You're right. I'm sorry. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that was surprisingly boyish. I see you living in a place with inadequate security, and my first instinct is to fix it. That's very alpha male of you. Is that criticism? Observation. I squeezed his hand, then released it. I can take care of myself, Sebastian. I've been doing it for years. I know you can, but that doesn't mean you have to. He opened the car door for me. Now, about dinner. How do you feel about Italian food? I feel positively about any food I don't have to cook myself. He laughed and closed the door, then rounded the car to slide into the driver's seat. I'd expected a driver, another layer of separation between him and the real world, but he was driving himself. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne, and the dashboard looked like something from a spaceship. I thought we'd go to a place I know in River North, he said as he pulled into traffic. Small, family-owned. Best pasta in the city. Not some 5-star restaurant where I'd need to know which fork to use. Would you prefer that? God, no. Good. Neither would I. He glanced at me, his expression softening. I want you to be comfortable, Riley. This isn't about impressing you with money or status. I just want to know you better. The sincerity in his voice made my chest tight. Why me? You could have anyone. I could have anyone who wants Sebastian Kane billionaire, who wants the penthouse and the cars and the lifestyle, but you... He turned his attention back to the road. You see me? Not the money, not the name, just me. I'm not sure I see you yet. I'm still trying to figure out who you are. Then let me show you. The restaurant was tucked into a side street, easy to miss if you didn't know it was there. The exterior was unassuming, but inside was warm and intimate, with exposed brick walls and candlelit tables. An older Italian man greeted Sebastian like a son, embracing him and speaking rapid Italian that Sebastian answered fluently. Riley, this is Marco Giordano. He's owned this place for 30 years. Marco, this is Riley Chen, someone very special. Marco's eyes twinkled as he looked between us. Special, eh? Sebastian, my boy, you never bring anyone here. This must be important. Very important, Sebastian confirmed, and I felt heat rise to my cheeks. Marco seated us at a corner table, away from the handful of other diners, and promised to bring his finest dishes. As soon as he left, I leaned forward. You've never brought anyone here? This place? Sebastian looked around with obvious affection. Marco helped my father when we first came to Chicago, before the Kane name meant anything. When we were just another immigrant family trying to make it, he gave my father a job washing dishes, fed us when we had nothing. This restaurant is a reminder of where we came from. You're an immigrant. Born in Italy, moved here when I was 8. My father wanted a fresh start, away from the family business in Naples. What business? He met my eyes steadily. The kind that made fresh starts necessary. My grandfather was involved with the Camorra, the Neapolitan Mafia. My father wanted out. Wanted something legitimate for his sons. So, we came to America. The casual way he said it, like he was discussing any normal family history, should have frightened me more than it did. Did he manage it? The fresh start? Mostly. He built a legitimate real estate empire, made the Kane name respectable. But you can't completely escape that kind of past. There are still connections, still obligations, still people who remember what we were. And you. What are you trying to be? Completely legitimate, no gray areas, no compromises. It's why I've spent the last 5 years restructuring every company my father left me, cutting ties with anyone who operated in shadows. He reached across the table and took my hand. But I need you to understand, Riley. My past is complicated. There are people in my life with dangerous reputations, family friends I can't completely cut off without causing problems. Being with me means dealing with that. You're giving me an out. I'm giving you the truth. You deserve to know what you'd be walking into. I thought about my safe, predictable life. Wake up, go to work, edit manuscripts, go home, repeat. It was comfortable, secure. Sebastian represented the opposite of that. Uncertainty, danger, a world I didn't understand. But when I looked at him, I saw vulnerability beneath the powerful exterior. I saw loneliness that matched my own. And I saw possibility. "I'm not running," I said quietly. "Not yet, anyway." His smile could have lit the entire restaurant. "Not yet. I'll take it." Marco returned with wine and appetizers, and the conversation shifted to easier topics. Sebastian asked about my work, and I found myself telling him about the debut novelist I was editing, a literary thriller that I believed could be huge. "You light up when you talk about books," he observed, "like they're not just work, but a calling. They are, in a way. I get to help shape stories that will touch thousands of readers. It's powerful. Not billionaire powerful, but meaningful. You underestimate your power. Money is easy. Changing minds, touching hearts through art. That's the real influence." The pasta arrived, and it was transcendent. We ate and talked, and I learned that Sebastian spoke 4 languages, that he'd studied architecture before his father died and left him the empire, that he missed Italy with an ache that never quite faded. "I visit twice a year," he said. "I have a house in Positano on the Amalfi Coast. It's the only place I feel completely at peace." "Describe it to me." He closed his eyes briefly, a small smile playing at his lips. White stone and blue tiles, built into the cliffside overlooking the Mediterranean. Bougainvillea growing wild over the terraces. In the morning, you can hear the church bells from the village and smell lemon trees. At night, the stars are so bright it feels like you could reach up and touch them. It sounds like heaven. I'd like to take you there someday. Show you the Italy I remember before everything became complicated. The offer hung between us, intimate and terrifying. Accepting meant admitting this was more than one dinner, more than curiosity. It meant accepting the possibility of a future together. "I'd like that," I heard myself say. Over dessert, tiramisu that melted on my tongue, Sebastian asked about my family. I told him about my mother working as a seamstress, about growing up in a tiny town where everyone knew everyone, about the community garden where immigrants from a dozen countries grew vegetables from their homelands. "My mother still has her plot there," I said. "She grows bok choy and Chinese broccoli, says store-bought doesn't taste the same. She's right. My mother was the same about tomatoes. She'd say American tomatoes had no soul." His expression turned wistful. "She died when I was 15. Cancer. My father never really recovered." "I'm sorry." "She would have liked you. She always said my father needed someone who saw past his reputation to who he really was. She'd have appreciated you doing the same for me." The vulnerability in his voice made my heart ache. I squeezed his hand across the table. "Tell me about her." He did, and in his words I heard love and grief intertwined. His mother had been a teacher in Naples, educated and principled, who'd fallen for his father despite, or perhaps because of, the danger surrounding the Kane family. She'd been the moral center of their household, the one who'd insisted on legitimate business, on education, on building something better. "She's the reason we came to America," Sebastian said. "She gave my father an ultimatum. Leave the Camorra or lose his family. He chose us." That's beautiful. It's also why I can't completely walk away from certain obligations. My father made promises to people who helped us escape, who protected us. Those debts don't disappear just because I want them to. "What kind of debts?" "The kind that require occasional favors. Legal ones," he added quickly. "Mostly business deals, introductions, that sort of thing. But it means I'm still connected to that world, even if I'm not part of it." I processed this, trying to separate the man in front of me from the dangerous legacy he carried. "You're trying to be better than your history." Every day. Some days I succeed more than others. By the time we left the restaurant, it was past 11. Chicago glittered around us, the city alive with energy, even on a Monday night. Sebastian opened the car door but didn't get in. "Walk with me?" We strolled along the Chicago River, the water reflecting lights from the surrounding buildings. Sebastian's hand found mine, and the contact felt natural, comfortable. I have a confession, he said after a few minutes of companionable silence. When I saw you at Onyx, throwing that drink, I thought you were the most fearless person I'd ever seen. Then you told me you were afraid of me, and I realized you were something even better. Brave. Bravery is acting despite fear. Fearlessness is just ignorance. I'm not brave. I'm just stubborn. You're brave, he insisted. You built a career from nothing, in an industry that pays terribly and respects you less. You defend your friends. You speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable. That's courage, Riley. We stopped walking, and he turned to face me. The streetlights cast shadows across his face, making him look dangerous and beautiful. I want to see you again, he said. And again. I want to know everything about you. What you read, what you dream about, what makes you laugh. I want you in my life. Sebastian, I know it's fast. I know I should play it cool, pretend to be casual about this, but I've spent my entire life playing roles, being what people expected. With you, I want to be honest. And honestly, Riley, you've already become important to me. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was insane. I'd known him for 2 days. But standing there in the Chicago night, looking into eyes that saw me with startling clarity, I felt the same pull I'd felt at Onyx, the recognition of something rare and real. I want that too, I whispered, even though it terrifies me. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my cheek. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, I rose on my toes and closed the distance between us. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question neither of us could quite articulate. Then his arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer, and the gentleness gave way to something deeper. He kissed me like I was precious, like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Come home with me, he said against my lips. I just want more time with you. Talk to me until dawn, fall asleep on my couch, have breakfast together. I'm not ready for this night to end. Every rational thought screamed caution, but rationality had no place in this moment, with the taste of him still on my lips and the promise of something extraordinary hanging in the air. Okay, I said. Take me home. Sebastian's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building in the Gold Coast, the kind of address that made real estate agents salivate. The elevator required a key card and opened directly into his foyer, a study in masculine minimalism with marble floors and abstract art that probably cost more than my student loans. I struggled for words that weren't just variations of absurdly expensive. Too much, he finished, shrugging out of his jacket. I know. The decorator insisted on making a statement. I mostly ignore it. You ignore museum-quality art? You get used to it. He led me through the foyer into an open-concept living space that took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Chicago's glittering skyline, and beyond it, Lake Michigan stretched dark and infinite. The furniture was sleek leather and clean lines, the kitchen all stainless steel and Italian marble. But what caught my attention was the far wall, lined floor-to-ceiling with books. You have a library, I breathed, drawn to it like a magnet. I thought that might get your attention. His smile was warm as I approached the shelves, running my fingers over spines. First editions mixed with worn paperbacks, classics beside contemporary fiction, multiple languages represented. You actually read these? How can you tell? I pulled out a copy of 100 Years of Solitude, its spine creased and pages dog-eared. No one who keeps books pristine leaves them like this. You love them. My mother's influence. She said a house without books was a house without soul. He moved behind me, close enough that I could feel his warmth. What are you reading now? A debut novel about a Korean-American family's restaurant. It's beautiful. Captures the immigrant experience without making it trauma porn. Now, will it sell? I hope so. It deserves to. His hand came to rest on my lower back, a gentle touch that sent electricity up my spine. Tell me about your favorite book. We talked for hours, curled together on his leather couch with the city spread out below us. I told him about discovering Beloved in high school, how Toni Morrison's words had cracked open my understanding of what literature could do. He told me about reading The Leopard as a teenager in Italy, seeing his own experience of transformation reflected in the prince's Sicily. Somewhere around 3 a.m. we migrated to his bedroom, not for sex, but because we were both exhausted and the couch wasn't built for two people to comfortably share. His bed was massive, covered in charcoal gray sheets that felt like silk against my skin. "I'll stay on my side," he promised. And he did, though our hands found each other in the darkness. I fell asleep to the sound of his breathing and woke to sunlight streaming through windows I hadn't bothered to close the curtains on. For a moment, I was disoriented, then remembered Sebastian's penthouse. Sebastian's bed. Sebastian, watching me from the other pillow with gray eyes that held something tender. "Good morning," he said softly. "How long have you been awake?" "Long enough to memorize your face while you sleep? Is that creepy?" "That might be creepy." I laughed, the sound rough with sleep. "Maybe a little, but I'll allow it." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering. "I have a meeting at 9, but stay. Have breakfast, use the shower, make yourself at home. My housekeeper Maria will be here at 8. "You have a housekeeper. 2, actually, and a chef who comes 3 times a week, and a personal assistant who manages my schedule." He said it apologetically, like he was confessing a character flaw. "I know it's excessive. It's your life." I sat up, suddenly aware that I was still wearing my dress from last night, now thoroughly wrinkled. I should probably go anyway. I have manuscripts to review. "Riley?" He sat up too, all sleep-warm skin and tousled hair. "This isn't just one night for me. I meant what I said. I want you in my life." The intensity in his voice made my chest tight. "I want that too. But we need to be realistic. You have board meetings and charity galas. I have editorial deadlines and a mother in Ohio who calls every Sunday. Our lives don't exactly mesh. Then we make them mesh." He took my hand, threading our fingers together. "I'm not interested in realistic, Riley. I spent 33 years being realistic. I want something real instead." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and swore softly. "I have to take this. Stay, please. At least have breakfast." He left the room, his voice dropping to rapid Italian as he answered the call. I took the opportunity to explore. His bedroom was surprisingly sparse. Expensive furniture, yes, but no personal touches beyond a framed photo on the nightstand. A younger Sebastian with an older couple I assumed were his parents, all 3 laughing at something outside the frame. The ensuite bathroom was larger than my entire studio, all marble and glass with a shower that had more settings than my car. If I had a car. I caught sight of myself in the mirror and winced. My hair was a mess, mascara smudged, dress wrinkled beyond salvation. This was a mistake. Not Sebastian himself, but this fantasy of different worlds colliding. I couldn't be the woman who belonged in penthouses and charity galas. I was the woman who took the L train and ate ramen and worked 70-hour weeks just to stay afloat. I found my purse and was heading for the elevator when Sebastian emerged from what looked like a home office. "You're leaving." "I should. It's a lot, Sebastian." He crossed the space between us in 3 strides. "Riley, talk to me. What changed between last night and this morning?" "Nothing changed. That's the problem. Last night was perfect. Too perfect. This," I gestured at the penthouse, at him, at everything, "isn't real life. This is a fantasy, and I can't afford fantasies." What if it's not a fantasy? What if this could be real? How? You live in a world where people have housekeepers and private chefs. I live in a world where I save up for weeks to afford a nice dinner. The gap between us isn't just money, it's everything. Then we bridge it. He took my hands, his grip firm but gentle. "Riley, I've dated women who fit perfectly into my world. Society daughters, successful entrepreneurs, women who knew all the rules and played the game flawlessly. Every single one of them left me feeling more isolated than before. Because they wanted Sebastian Kane, the image. You want me, just me. You don't know what I want." "Then tell me." I closed my eyes, trying to find words for the tangle of emotions. I want someone who sees me as an equal, not a project to improve or a novelty to collect. I want someone who respects my work, even though it doesn't pay 6 figures. I want someone who won't try to fix every problem with money. And I want someone who won't get bored when the initial attraction fades and realize I'm just an ordinary woman with student debt and a mother who still sends care packages. When I opened my eyes, Sebastian was smiling. What? You just described exactly what I want to be for you, an equal partner who respects your work, who solves problems with you instead of for you, who sees that you're extraordinary even when you feel ordinary. He pulled me closer. Riley, I'm falling for you, fast and hard and in a way that terrifies me, but I'm willing to be terrified if you are. This is insane. Completely. We've known each other for 2 days. 48 hours that have felt more real than the last 5 years of my life. I looked up at him, at the vulnerability in his eyes, and felt my resistance crumbling. I have to go to work. I know, but I want to see you again. His smile was radiant. Tonight, I'll cook. You cook. My mother insisted all her sons learn. I make excellent risotto. Okay. I reached up and kissed him, soft and quick. Tonight. The publishing house felt surreal after Sebastian's penthouse. My shared office was cramped and cluttered, the coffee was terrible, and my desk chair squeaked whenever I moved. But it was mine, earned through hard work and talent, not inherited or bought. My office mate Jennifer took one look at me and grinned. Someone didn't sleep at home last night. I slept, just not at my home. Details, now. All of them. I gave her the edited version while booting up my computer. Met someone at a club, had dinner, fell asleep talking. I left out the parts about Mafia connections and penthouses that required elevator keys. That's adorable, Jennifer sighed. My last date spent the entire dinner talking about his cryptocurrency portfolio. Where does this mystery man work? Real estate. Hot and practical. I approve. Her phone buzzed and she groaned. The marketing meeting got moved up. You're coming, right? I'd forgotten about the marketing meeting. We spent 2 hours discussing promotional strategies for the fall catalog, and by the time I escaped back to my desk, I had 17 emails and 3 urgent manuscripts to review. My phone buzzed. Sebastian, missing you already. Ridiculous, I know, but true. Dinner at 7? I'll send a car. I can take the train, I typed back. You could. But why? Let me do this small thing. It's not small, it's a car service. Riley, I'm not trying to solve your problems. I just want you to arrive safely and on time so we can have more time together. Please? I stared at my phone, torn between independence and the practical reality that taking a car would save me 40 minutes of commuting. Finally. Okay, thank you. His response was immediate. Thank you for letting me care for you. The rest of the day passed in a blur of editorial work. I reviewed a manuscript about generational trauma, made notes for an author whose second novel needed structural revisions, and fought with marketing about cover design for a debut that deserved better than the generic image they'd proposed. By 6 o'clock, I was exhausted and questioning whether I had the energy for dinner. But then, my phone buzzed with a message. Car is waiting downstairs. And Riley, I can't wait to see you. The car was a sleek black sedan with a driver who greeted me by name. I felt absurdly conspicuous climbing into the back seat, like I was playing dress-up in someone else's life. The drive took 20 minutes, and when we pulled up to Sebastian's building, he was waiting in the lobby. He'd changed into jeans and a simple black t-shirt that did obscene things to his shoulders, and his smile when he saw me was genuine enough to quiet some of my doubts. You look exhausted, he said, pulling me into a hug. Charming. Honest. He kissed the top of my head. Come on, food will help. His penthouse smelled like garlic and butter and something herbal that made my mouth water. He led me to the kitchen, where multiple pots simmered on the professional-grade stove. You actually are cooking. I told you I would. He handed me a glass of white wine. Sit. Talk to me while I finish. I perched on a bar stool at the marble island and watched him work. He moved with confidence, tasting and adjusting, stirring and plating with the ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. My mother taught me, he said, catching my stare, said that a man who couldn't feed himself was only half a person. She'd make us cook every Sunday, me and my brothers. We'd complain, but secretly, we loved it. Those were the only times my father relaxed, when we were all in the kitchen together. You have brothers. 2. Marco runs our operations in New York, and Luca oversees the international properties. They're both married, both have kids. I'm the odd one out, the workaholic bachelor who lives alone in a penthouse. Do they know about me? He smiled. Marco called this morning to ask why I canceled our standing breakfast. I may have mentioned you? What did you say? That I'd met someone extraordinary who throws drinks at assholes and edits books and makes me want to be a better version of myself. He set a plate in front of me, risotto with mushrooms, perfectly creamy and fragrant. Was I wrong? I don't know about the better version part. I do. He sat beside me with his own plate. Eat. Tell me about your day. I did, and somewhere between describing the marketing meeting disaster and the manuscript that had made me cry, I relaxed. This felt normal. 2 people sharing a meal, talking about their days. The penthouse faded into background, and it was just us. After dinner, we migrated to the couch with more wine. Sebastian put on music, something jazzy and instrumental, and pulled me against his side. Can I ask you something? I said after a comfortable silence. Anything. Those debts you mentioned, the ones your father left, are they dangerous? His body tensed slightly. Sometimes. Mostly they're just complicated. Why? Because I need to know what I'm walking into. If being with you means I could be in danger... No. He sat up, turning to face me. Riley, I would never let anything happen to you. Whatever obligations I have, whatever shadows my past casts, I keep them separate from my personal life. You would be protected. That's not the same as safe. You're right. It's not. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. The truth is, there are people who might try to use you to get to me, which is why, if we continue this, you need to let me provide security. Security, like bodyguards? Discreet ones. You'd barely notice them. Sebastian, that's insane. I'm a senior editor, not a diplomat. You're the woman I'm falling in love with, which makes you more valuable than any diplomat. He said it simply, like it was an obvious fact. My breath caught. You're falling in love with me. Is that surprising? You're brilliant, passionate, brave, kind. You challenge me. You see me. Of course I'm falling in love with you. We've known each other for 3 days. Does that matter? Time is just a measurement. What we feel, that's real, regardless of how long we've known each other. I wanted to argue, to point out all the logical reasons this was moving too fast. But sitting there in his arms, with his heart beating steady beneath my palm, logic felt irrelevant. I'm falling for you too, I admitted. It's terrifying. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I don't know yet. He kissed me then, slow and deep, and I felt the conversation shift from words to sensation. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head for better access, and I melted into him. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Stay tonight, he said against my lips. Stay every night. Move in with me. Sebastian, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but I don't want to spend another night without you. I don't want to wake up alone when I could wake up with you. His thumb traced my lower lip. Say yes. Every rational thought said no. We barely knew each other. I'd lose my independence. It was too much too soon, but my heart was screaming, yes, yes, yes. I need time to think about it, I finally said. Disappointment flickered across his face, but he nodded. Okay, think about it. But Riley, I'm not going anywhere. However long you need, I'll wait. We spent the rest of the evening tangled together on the couch, talking and kissing, and existing in that perfect bubble where the outside world couldn't touch us. Around midnight, my phone rang. Mia's name flashed on the screen. I should take this, I said apologetically. Of course. I stepped into the kitchen for privacy. Hey, Mia. Riley Chen. You have been radio silent for 24 hours, and I need to know if you're alive or if I need to file a missing person report with Chicago PD. I'm alive. I'm at Sebastian's. Still? Oh my God, is it serious? I think it might be. That's amazing. Also terrifying. Have you Googled him? Because I have, and there's some concerning stuff about his family. I know about his family. He told me. He told you his grandfather was Mafia? He told me a lot of things. I leaned against the counter, watching Sebastian through the doorway. He was scrolling through his phone, his expression serious. Mia, he asked me to move in with him. Dead silence, then, Riley, that's insane. I know. You've known him for 3 days. I know. But you're considering it. I'm considering it. Mia sighed. Look, I love a good whirlwind romance as much as the next person. But this is real life, not a novel. Moving in with a guy you just met, especially one with his background, that's a huge risk. I know it is. But Mia, when I'm with him, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, everything before was just preparation for this. That's either love or really good pheromones. Promise me you'll be careful? And promise you'll keep your apartment, at least for a few months? I promise. Okay? I trust your judgment. Even if your judgment is currently being influenced by a very hot, very rich, possibly dangerous man. I laughed. Thanks for the vote of confidence. After hanging up, I returned to the living room. Sebastian looked up, something uncertain in his expression. Everything okay? Mia thinks I'm insane for considering moving in with you. She's probably right. Probably. I sat beside him. Sebastian, if I did this, and I'm not saying I will, I'd need boundaries. I'd keep paying rent on my apartment for at least 3 months. I'd maintain my independence financially. And you'd have to respect my work schedule, even when it means I can't drop everything for you. Hope bloomed in his eyes. Done. Anything else? No trying to fix my problems with money, no bodyguards unless there's an actual threat, and no keeping secrets about the dangerous parts of your life. If something happens, I need to know. Agreed. He pulled me into his lap, his arms wrapping around my waist. Riley Chen, will you move in with me and let me wake up beside you every morning and fall asleep with you every night? Yes, I heard myself say. But I'm keeping my apartment. I'll take it. He kissed me, and I felt the shift between us, from casual to committed, from maybe to yes. Moving in with Sebastian happened gradually and then all at once. I kept my apartment just as I'd insisted, but within 2 weeks, most of my clothes had migrated to his penthouse. By week 3, my books were integrating with his in the floor-to-ceiling library. By week 4, I had a dedicated workspace in his home office, complete with a desk that somehow appeared one day while I was at work. I thought you weren't supposed to solve my problems with money, I said when I found it. I'm not solving a problem. I'm providing a comfortable workspace for the woman I love who keeps working hunched over the coffee table and developing neck pain. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. There's a difference. Fine line, but a line nonetheless. He kissed my temple. Now you can work from home when you need to without destroying your spine. I'd met his brothers via video call. Marco, who looked like a younger version of Sebastian and teased him mercilessly about being whipped, and Luca, who was quieter but whose eyes held the same intensity as Sebastian's. They'd both approved of me, though Marco had warned Sebastian that if he screwed this up, the family would side with me in the divorce. We're not getting divorced because we're not married, Sebastian had pointed out. Yet, Marco had said, grinning at my stunned expression. My mother's reaction had been more complicated. I'd called her on Sunday, our standing time, and tried to explain that I was seeing someone. How long have you known this man? She'd asked in Mandarin. A few weeks. And you're already living with him? Riley, this is not how we do things. Ma, I'm 26. I'm allowed to make my own choices. Choices that could hurt you. What if he's not serious? What if he uses you and leaves? He's serious. Ma, he's different. Special. There'd been a long pause. Then, bring him to meet me. I want to see this special man who has my daughter living in sin. I'd laughed at living in sin, but the request had stuck. Sebastian had immediately agreed, suggesting we fly to Ohio the following weekend. When I'd pointed out that flying was excessive, he just smiled. Riley, I have a plane. We might as well use it. You have a plane. The company has a plane. It's mainly for business, but it's available. Of course it was. Work had become more complicated. My colleagues noticed the car service that now picked me up every morning. Jennifer had Googled Sebastian and found pictures of him at charity galas and business conferences. Holy shit, Riley. Your boyfriend is Sebastian Kane, as in Kane Properties, Kane Ventures, Kane Foundation, Sebastian Kane. I know who he is. Does he have any single brothers? Asking for myself. The attention made me uncomfortable. I'd always been the invisible one, the quiet editor who did good work and avoided office drama. Now people looked at me differently, like I'd won some lottery I hadn't entered. My boss, Patricia, had called me into her office 3 weeks after I'd started seeing Sebastian. Riley, I want to be clear about something. Your promotion was based entirely on your merit. Your editorial skills are exceptional, your authors love you, and you've brought in deals that have strengthened our catalog. I know that. Do you? Because I've heard whispers that some people think your relationship with Sebastian Kane might have influenced the decision. It didn't. But I need you to be aware that people will make assumptions. The unfairness of it stung. But Patricia was right. In a world where Sebastian's name opened doors, people would always question whether I'd walked through them on my own merit. That night, I'd come home, still strange to think of Sebastian's penthouse as home, frustrated and exhausted. Sebastian had taken one look at my face and pulled me into his arms. Tell me. I did, and he'd listened without interrupting. When I finished, he'd been quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry. I didn't think about how my visibility might affect your career. It's not your fault. People are just people. Still, if you want me to be more discreet, no. I'd cut him off firmly. I'm not hiding us. I'm just frustrated that I can't be successful on my own terms without people questioning it. Then we prove them wrong. You keep doing brilliant work, and eventually your reputation will speak for itself. It was the right thing to say, the supportive response I'd needed. But I still felt the weight of others' perceptions, the sense that I'd become Sebastian Kane's girlfriend instead of Riley Chen, senior editor. The first real test came 6 weeks into our relationship. The Kane Foundation's annual charity gala, a black tie event that raised millions for education initiatives, was approaching, and Sebastian wanted me there. It's important to me, he'd said, but I understand if you'd rather not. These events can be exhausting, and you'll be photographed. Photographed? There's always press at the gala, society pages, that sort of thing. If you come with me, people will know we're together. Part of me wanted to refuse to maintain some privacy, but another part, the part that was falling deeper in love with this complicated, intense man every day, wanted to be there with him. I'll need a dress. His smile had been brilliant. I know someone. The someone turned out to be a personal stylist who came to the penthouse with racks of designer gowns. I'd protested, but Sebastian had been firm. Riley, this isn't about money or control. This is about making sure you feel confident at an event where everyone will be judging everyone else. Let me do this for you. Please. I'd relented and found myself trying on dresses that cost more than my monthly salary. The stylist, a woman named Veronica with impeccable taste and zero patience for self-doubt, had eventually declared a midnight blue silk gown perfect. It's sophisticated without being stuffy, sexy without being obvious. You'll photograph beautifully. Looking at myself in the mirror, I'd barely recognize the woman staring back. The dress transformed me from ordinary to elegant, the color bringing out the warmth in my skin tone. Sebastian had appeared in the doorway and gone completely still. Riley, too much? Perfect. You're absolutely perfect. The night of the gala, I was a bundle of nerves. Sebastian seemed to sense it, taking my hand as we rode the elevator down to the waiting car. If at any point you're overwhelmed, tell me. We'll leave. You can't leave your own gala. Watch me. He squeezed my hand. You're more important than any event. The gala was held at the Field Museum, the grand entrance transformed with dramatic lighting and thousands of flowers. Photographers lined the red carpet, their cameras flashing as guests arrived. Ready? Sebastian asked as our car pulled up. No, but let's do it anyway. He helped me out, and immediately the cameras went crazy. Flashes blinded me, voices called out questions, and I felt Sebastian's hand firm on my lower back, guiding me forward. Mr. Kane, who's your date? Sebastian, is this serious? Over here. Look this way. Sebastian ignored them all, keeping us moving toward the entrance. Once inside, the chaos settled into a dull roar of conversation and classical music. You okay? He murmured. That was intense. Welcome to my world. He snagged 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter. Now comes the fun part. schmoozing with people who donated money and expect me to remember their names. He wasn't exaggerating. For the next 2 hours, we circulated through the crowd. Sebastian introduced me to a dizzying array of people: business partners, philanthropists, politicians, society matrons. I shook hands and made small talk and tried to remember names and affiliations. Some people were genuinely kind. Others looked at me with barely concealed curiosity, clearly wondering who I was and why Sebastian Kane had brought me to his signature event. One woman in particular, a striking blonde in a red dress that probably violated several laws of physics, approached with predatory interest. "Sebastian, darling." She air-kissed both his cheeks. "It's been too long." "Natasha." His voice was polite but cool. "Riley, this is Natasha Volkov. We serve together on the board of the Art Institute. Natasha, this is Riley Chen, my girlfriend." Natasha's smile was sharp. "Girlfriend. How quaint. I don't think I've heard you use that term before, Sebastian." "That's because I haven't had a girlfriend before." Her eyes flickered to me, assessing and dismissive in equal measure. "And what do you do, Riley?" "I'm a senior editor at Hartwell Publishing." "Oh, books. How nice. Do you read a lot, Sebastian?" "I do, actually. Riley and I bond over our shared love of literature." His hand tightened on my waist, a subtle claim of territory. Natasha's smile grew tighter. "Well, I'm sure it's very," she waved a hand, "meaningful. Do let me know when you're ready for adult conversation, Sebastian. I've been meaning to discuss the museum's expansion plans with you." She glided away, leaving me feeling simultaneously insulted and invisible. "I'm sorry about that," Sebastian said immediately. "Natasha is complicated." "Complicated meaning you dated her?" "Briefly, 2 years ago. It ended badly." "She still wants you." "She wants what I represent. There's a difference." He turned me to face him. "Riley, there will be women like Natasha here tonight. Women who think I made a mistake choosing you over them. Ignore them. You're the one I want. You're the one who matters." I wanted to believe him. But standing in that grand hall, surrounded by wealth and power and people who belonged in ways I never would, doubt crept in. The rest of the evening was a blur. Dinner was served, multiple courses with wine pairings, speeches were made about education and opportunity. Sebastian spoke briefly, passionately, about growing up as the son of immigrants and the importance of giving every child access to quality schooling. Watching him command the room, I was struck by how naturally he wore authority. This was his world, where he belonged. And I was the interloper, playing dress-up in borrowed clothes. After the speeches, there was dancing. Sebastian pulled me onto the floor as a string quartet played something classical and romantic. "Thank you for being here," he murmured as we swayed together. "I know it's not easy." "It's fine." "Riley." He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Talk to me. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I'm just out of my depth. You're brilliant and accomplished and interesting. These people should feel honored to meet you." "Sebastian, they think I'm a gold digger. Or worse, a charity case you're temporarily interested in." His jaw tightened. "Who said that?" "No one had to say it. I can see it in their eyes. The way they look at me like they're calculating what I bring to the table besides youth and novelty. Then they're idiots." He pulled me closer, his voice fierce. "You bring everything. Intelligence, passion, integrity, kindness. You make me want to be better. Do better. Anyone who can't see that isn't worth knowing." I leaned into him, letting his certainty shore up my wavering confidence. The music swelled around us, and for a moment, it was just us. Not the crowd, not the cameras, not the weight of expectations. Just Sebastian and Riley, dancing like we had all the time in the world. The photograph appeared in the society pages the next morning. Sebastian and me on the museum steps, his hand on my back, both of us looking at each other with expressions that could only be described as besotted. The headline read, "Chicago's most eligible bachelor off the market?" Jennifer texted me the link with 17 exclamation marks. Mia called, "Holy shit, Riley, you're in the Tribune. My best friend is famous." Even my mother called, her voice tight with the emotion I couldn't quite name. "Riley, you didn't tell me your boyfriend was so, prominent." "I told you he was successful. Successful is a good job. This is..." She paused, searching for words. "This is different. Riley, are you sure about this? Men like this, they have many choices. What happens when he chooses someone else? Ma, it's not like that. How do you know? You've known him for 2 months. 2 months. It felt simultaneously too short and impossibly long. In 2 months, Sebastian had become the center of my world, my first thought in the morning, my last before sleep. Was that love or dependence, healthy or dangerous? I didn't have answers, only the certainty that being without him felt like missing a limb. Work became harder after the photograph. People who'd barely noticed me before suddenly wanted to chat, to ask questions about Sebastian and the gala, and what it was like dating a billionaire. Patricia called me in again. Riley, I'm hearing concerns from some of the other editors. They feel that you're getting preferential treatment. What kind of preferential treatment? The Collins manuscript. You were given first crack at it. And some people think it's because of your connection. The Collins manuscript was a literary thriller by a debut author that every editor in the house had wanted. I'd gotten it because I'd written the most compelling pitch, because I'd connected with the author's voice. At least, I'd thought that was why. Was it? I asked quietly. Was I given that manuscript because of Sebastian? No. You were given it because you're a talented editor who understood the material. But Riley, perception matters. And right now, people are perceiving favoritism. What do you want me to do? Break up with him to prove I can succeed on my own? Of course not. I'm just asking you to be aware of how your relationship affects the office dynamic. I left her office feeling defeated. Everything I'd worked for, every achievement I'd earned through late nights and careful edits and passionate advocacy, all of it was now suspect because of who I was dating. That night, I told Sebastian I needed space. Just a few days to stay at my apartment, to remember who I was outside of us. He'd looked stricken. Riley, if I'm overwhelming you, it's not you, it's everything else. The attention, the scrutiny, people questioning whether I've earned anything, or if it's all just reflected glory from being with you. Your success has nothing to do with me. I know that, but they don't, and I need to prove it, to myself and to them. He'd nodded slowly. Okay, take the space you need. But Riley, don't shut me out completely. We're in this together, even when we're apart. I spent 3 days at my tiny studio apartment, and it felt like exile. The space was cramped and shabby after Sebastian's penthouse, the neighborhood loud and grimy. But it was mine, paid for with my salary, decorated with my choices. I threw myself into work, editing manuscripts until my eyes burned. I had coffee with Mia and didn't talk about Sebastian. I called my mother and listened to her worries without defending him. And I missed him so desperately it was a physical ache. On the 4th day, my doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Sebastian stood in the hallway, looking like he hadn't slept, holding a bag from my favorite Thai restaurant. I know you need space, he said, but you also need to eat, and I know you've been living on coffee and anxiety. Despite everything, I smiled. How did you know? Because I've been doing the same thing. He held up the bag. Can I come in? Just for dinner. Then I'll leave if you want me to. I stepped aside, and he entered my apartment, the first time he'd been inside. I watched him take in the cramped space, the worn furniture, the precarious stacks of books. It's not much, I said defensively. It's you. That makes it perfect. We ate pad thai sitting on my secondhand couch, and I told him about the conversation with Patricia, about feeling like I was losing myself in the wake of his prominence. I understand, he said when I finished. I've been thinking about it too, about how my world intersects with yours, and not always in healthy ways. What do you mean? I mean that I've been selfish. I wanted you in my life so badly that I didn't fully consider what that would cost you. Your privacy, your professional reputation, your sense of independence. I wanted you. I wanted you too. I still do. But he could hear the hesitation in my voice. But I need to figure out how to be with you without losing myself. How to be Riley and also be Sebastian's girlfriend. How to succeed on my own merit while being connected to someone whose name opens every door. He was quiet for a long moment, absently running his thumb along the rim of his takeout container. What if we pulled back publicly? No more galas, no more photographs. Keep our relationship private. You can't do that. Those events are part of your work. Then I go alone. Or I bring Marco or business associates. Riley, I don't need you at those events. I need you in my life. Everything else is negotiable. The offer touched me, but it also felt wrong. I don't want you to hide me. That's not the solution either. Then what is? I don't know. I set down my food, suddenly not hungry. Maybe we move too fast. Maybe we need to slow down, date like normal people instead of living together and attending galas. Pain flashed across his face. You want to move out? I want to remember who I am outside of us. Sebastian, 2 months ago, I was a senior editor building a career. Now I'm Sebastian Kane's girlfriend, who happens to edit books. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I see when I look at you. I see Riley Chen, brilliant, passionate, stubborn, the woman who throws drinks at assholes and fights for her authors and challenges me to be better. Being my girlfriend is just one part of who you are. But it's the part everyone else sees. I felt tears threatening and blinked them back. I love you. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. But I'm drowning in your world. And I need to find solid ground. He reached for my hand, his grip gentle. Then we find it together. Tell me what you need, and I'll make it happen. I need to prove to myself that I can succeed without any help from you or your connections. I need to keep my apartment and maintain my independence. I need us to be equals, not patron and protege. What? We are equals. Are we? You have billions of dollars and influence that spans industries. I have student debt and a mid-level editorial position. The power imbalance is staggering. Money and influence aren't the only forms of power. You have something I don't. The ability to shape culture through stories, to touch hearts and change minds through the books you champion. That's real power. Riley, maybe even more important than mine. I wanted to believe him, but sitting in my shabby apartment, looking at this man who owned half of Chicago's skyline, the gap between us felt insurmountable. I need time, I said finally. Not to break up, just to breathe, to remember who I am. How much time? I don't know. A few weeks? I'll still see you, still talk to you, but I need to sleep in my own bed, make my own decisions, prove to myself and everyone else that I'm not just along for the ride. He pulled me into his arms, and I felt him trembling. I'm terrified that if I let you go, even temporarily, you won't come back. I'm terrified too, but I'm more terrified of losing myself completely. We held each other for a long time, and when he finally left, I felt simultaneously relieved and bereft. The apartment was too quiet without him, too empty. Over the next 3 weeks, we found a new rhythm. We had dinner twice a week, always at quiet restaurants where we wouldn't be recognized. We talked on the phone every night before bed. But I slept in my own apartment, took the L train to work, and deliberately avoided any situation where his influence might intersect with my career. I threw myself into the Collins manuscript, working with the debut author to strengthen the narrative structure and deepen the emotional resonance. It was challenging, fulfilling work, and every breakthrough felt like proof that I could succeed on my own merits. Patricia noticed the change. You seem more present lately, more like the Riley I hired. I'm finding my balance. Good, because the publisher wants to discuss expanding your role. We're thinking about giving you your own imprint, Riley Chen Books, a boutique line focused on diverse voices and literary fiction. My own imprint. It was everything I dreamed of. Validation that my work mattered. That's incredible. Thank you. Thank you for the exceptional work. You've earned this, Riley, on your own merit, regardless of who you're dating. I called Sebastian immediately. I got my own imprint. His joy was genuine and unrestrained. Riley, that's amazing. We need to celebrate. Let me take you to dinner, anywhere you want. Actually, I want to cook. For you, at my place. Nothing fancy, just us. I'd love that. That night, I made pasta carbonara in my tiny kitchen while Sebastian sat at my small table and told me about his day. It was domestic and ordinary and perfect. I'm proud of you, he said over dinner. Not just for the imprint, but for fighting for yourself, for not letting me or anyone else overshadow who you are. It was hard, staying away from you. It was hell for me too. He reached across the table. but I understand why you needed it, and I'm grateful you didn't give up on us completely. I couldn't. Even when I was frustrated and overwhelmed, you were still the person I wanted to talk to, the person I missed. Does this mean you're ready to come home? I thought about the penthouse, with its sweeping views and luxurious comfort. Then I looked around my cramped studio with its secondhand furniture and precarious book stacks. I think I need to keep this place, as a reminder that I don't need the penthouse or the car service or any of it, that I chose you, not your lifestyle. Then keep it. Use it whenever you need space. But come back to me, Riley. Let me fall asleep beside you and wake up with you. Let me be part of your ordinary days, not just the special occasions. Okay, I squeezed his hand. Let's go home. 3 months into our relationship, I met the part of Sebastian's world he'd been carefully keeping separate. It started with a phone call at 2 a.m. Sebastian's voice tight with tension. Riley, I need you to stay calm. There's a situation, and I need to handle it. Victor is outside your building. He's my head of security. He's going to stay there until I give the all clear. I sat up, instantly awake. What kind of situation? Someone connected to my family's past made threats. It's probably nothing, but I'm not taking chances with your safety. Threats? Sebastian, what? I can't explain right now. I need you to trust me. Stay inside, keep your phone on, and if Victor calls you, do exactly what he says. He hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone in the dark apartment. Fear coiled in my stomach. This was the dangerous part of his life, the shadows he'd alluded to but never fully explained. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. At 6 a.m., Sebastian called again. It's handled. I'm sending a car to bring you to the penthouse. Pack a bag. You're staying with me for a few days? What happened? I'll explain everything when you get here. Please, Riley, I need to know you're safe. The car arrived 20 minutes later, accompanied by Victor, a massive man with a kind face and the build of someone who could break you in half without trying. He carried my hastily packed bag and maintained professional silence during the drive. Sebastian was pacing in the penthouse when I arrived, still in the same clothes from yesterday. He pulled me into his arms the moment I walked in. Thank God, I've been losing my mind. Talk to me. What happened? He led me to the couch and poured coffee from a carafe that sat waiting. There's a man named Dmitry Volkov. He was associated with my grandfather's operations in Naples. When my father brought us to America, Dmitry felt betrayed. He thought we owed him loyalty, protection, a share of what we built here. Volkov? Like Natasha Volkov? Her father. That relationship was a mistake on multiple levels. The pieces clicked together. She wasn't just an ex. She was connected to your family's past. Her father wanted an alliance through marriage. When I refused, he took it as an insult. The relationship with Natasha was an attempt at diplomacy, but it was doomed from the start. She wanted the Kane name and fortune. I wanted nothing to do with her father's world. And now? Now Dmitry is making noise about old debts and disrespect. Last night, one of his associates approached my building asking questions about you. Where you work, where you live, who you are to me. Ice flooded my veins. He's targeting me to get to you. That's what he wants me to think. But Dmitry is more talk than action. He makes threats to remind everyone he still exists, that the old families haven't been completely pushed aside. I've increased security anyway. On you, on my brothers, on all our properties. This is because of me, because I'm visible now, after the gala. This is because Dmitry is a bitter old man clinging to relevance. Sebastian cupped my face. But yes, you being in my life makes you a target, which is why I need you to let me protect you. How? Victor will be your personal security. He'll be discreet. You'll barely notice him. But he'll be there, watching, making sure no one gets close enough to hurt you. The idea of constant surveillance made my skin crawl, but the fear in Sebastian's eyes, the tension in his shoulders, he was genuinely terrified for me. Okay, but I need to understand what we're dealing with. No more vague references to your past. I need the full truth. He nodded slowly. My grandfather ran one of the smaller Camorra families in Naples. Smuggling, protection rackets, some money laundering. Not the biggest operation, but enough to be dangerous. My father was groomed to take over, but he met my mother and she changed everything. She made him see a different path, a legitimate life. So you came to America. We fled to America, more accurately. My grandfather was furious. He disowned my father, declared him a traitor to the family, but he also couldn't afford to make an enemy of him. Not when my father had information that could have destroyed the entire organization. So, they reached an uneasy truce. My father would build his empire in America and keep his mouth shut about Naples. And Dimitri. He was my grandfather's lieutenant. He thought he'd inherit the Naples operation, but instead it fractured after my grandfather died. Dimitri came to America 10 years ago, tried to establish himself here. My father gave him some legitimate business opportunities as a gesture of goodwill. But Dimitri wanted more. He wanted partnership, integration into the Kane empire. My father refused, because Dimitri wasn't legitimate. Exactly. By the time I inherited everything, Dimitri was established in Chicago's Russian community, running various semi-legal operations, import-export businesses that probably launder money, real estate ventures with suspicious financing. Nothing I could prove, but everyone knows. I processed this, trying to reconcile the world Sebastian was describing with the life I'd known. And now he sees me as leverage. He sees you as a way to get my attention, to remind me that the old ties still exist, that I can't completely escape the past. So what do? We're careful, we don't give him opportunities, and we wait for him to realize that threatening you is the one thing guaranteed to make me his enemy instead of his neutral neighbor. The threat should have sent me running. This was exactly the kind of danger my mother had warned me about, the shadows that came with men like Sebastian. But looking at him, exhausted, scared, fiercely protective, I only felt more certain of my choice. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "But you need to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. If there's danger, I need to know. I can't protect myself from threats I don't understand. I promise. Complete transparency from now on." Victor stayed outside the penthouse for the next 3 days. Sebastian canceled his meetings and worked from home, keeping me close. We existed in a strange bubble of enforced intimacy, and somewhere in those days, something shifted between us. It wasn't the dramatic romance of our first months. It was quieter, deeper. Sebastian cooking breakfast while I edited manuscripts at the kitchen island, long conversations about everything and nothing, falling asleep tangled together and waking to find him watching me with an expression I couldn't quite name. On the 4th day, Victor knocked on the door with news. Dimitri made contact. He wants to meet. Sebastian's expression hardened. "When?" "Tomorrow. Neutral location, just you and him." "Set it up." After Victor left, I grabbed Sebastian's hand. "Is that safe?" Dimitri is many things, but he's not stupid enough to hurt me directly. This is about posturing, about reminding me he exists. I'll hear him out, make it clear that you're off limits, and we'll go back to ignoring each other. "I want to come with you." "Absolutely not." "Sebastian, Riley, no. This is not negotiable. You stay here with Victor, where I know you're safe. I handle Dimitri." The meeting happened at a restaurant Dimitri owned, a Russian place in Lakeview with red velvet booths and portraits of saints on the walls. Sebastian went alone, and I spent 2 hours pacing the penthouse, imagining worst-case scenarios. When he finally returned, he looked exhausted but unharmed. "Tell me everything." Dimitri wanted to make sure I remembered my obligations, that the money my grandfather's network provided to help my father establish himself here wasn't a gift but a debt. He suggested that helping him expand his legitimate holdings would be an appropriate way to acknowledge that debt. "What did you say?" I told him my father repaid any debts long ago, that the Kane family owes him nothing, and any business dealings we have will be at my discretion, not his demand. And I told him that anyone who threatens the people I love will find themselves with problems they can't solve. How did he take it? He smiled, said he was glad we understood each other, that he has no interest in causing problems as long as I remember where I came from. "So it's over?" "For now. Men like Dimitri don't disappear, but they do know when to back down." He made his point. I made mine. We'll maintain our distance and hope that's enough. I pulled him down beside me on the couch. "This is your life. Constant negotiations with dangerous people, always looking over your shoulder. It's part of my life, but it's not all of it. Most days are boring board meetings and real estate contracts. The Dimitris of the world are the exception, not the rule. But they exist. They do. He turned to face me fully. Riley, I won't blame you if this is too much. If the danger, the complications, the constant shadow of my family's past is more than you signed up for, I love you enough to let you go if that's what you need. I thought about my safe, predictable life before Sebastian. The small apartment, the routine, the comfortable loneliness. It had been secure, uncomplicated. It had also been half a life. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Yes, this is scary. Yes, your world is more complicated than I ever imagined. But Sebastian, you're worth it. We're worth it. I just need you to keep your promise. No more secrets, no more protection through ignorance. No more secrets, he agreed. We face everything together. 6 months after throwing a drink at a stranger in a nightclub, I stood in Sebastian's penthouse watching snow fall over Chicago and realized I couldn't imagine my life without him. The past months had been a roller coaster. Professional challenges, personal growth, navigating the complex intersection of our two worlds. My imprint, Riley Chen Books, had officially launched with 3 titles scheduled for the fall. The Collins manuscript I'd fought for had sold at auction to a major publisher, vindicating my editorial judgment. I'd proven to myself and others that I could succeed on my own merits. And through it all, Sebastian had been my partner, my supporter, my love. You're thinking very loudly, he said, coming up behind me with 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Just reflecting, 6 months ago, if someone had told me where I'd be today, you'd have thought they were insane. Completely insane. I took the mug, savoring the warmth. But also, I wouldn't change anything. Even the scary parts, even the complications. Not even Dimitri? Okay, I'd change Dimitri. But the rest of it, figuring out how to be together while maintaining our identities, learning to trust each other with the hard stuff, I wouldn't trade that. Sebastian set down his mug and took both my hands. Riley Chen, I need to ask you something. My heart started racing. Okay? These past 6 months have been the best of my life. You've challenged me, supported me, seen me at my worst, and somehow still chosen to stay. You've made me want to be better, do better, build something meaningful beyond just accumulating wealth. Sebastian, let me finish. I know we said we'd take things slow, maintain independence, not rush into anything permanent. But I'm 33 years old and I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. I don't want slow anymore. I don't want independence. I want partnership, commitment, a future together. He dropped to one knee, and my breath caught in my throat. Riley Chen, will you marry me? The ring he pulled from his pocket was stunning, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, elegant and unique. Not the expected diamond solitaire, but something that felt distinctly like us. Tears blurred my vision. That's blue. You wore blue to the gala. You looked like midnight sky come to life. I wanted something that reminded me of that night, of the moment I knew I was completely, irrevocably in love with you. Yes, I said through tears. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood and pulled me into a kiss that tasted like chocolate and promises. When we finally broke apart, we were both crying. I need to call my mother, I said. She's going to have opinions. I already called her, asked for her blessing. I stared at him. You spoke to my mother? When? Last week. Flew to Ohio, showed up at her house. She interrogated me for 3 hours, made me eat dinner, and then told me that if I ever hurt you, she'd find a way to make me regret it, regardless of how much money I have. That sounds like her. What did you say? That I would spend the rest of my life making sure she never had to follow through on that threat. He cupped my face. She gave us her blessing, Riley. She wants you to be happy, even if she's terrified of how fast this is moving. I called her anyway, wanting to share the news directly. She answered on the first ring. Riley? Ma, I'm engaged. There was a pause, then a sigh that seemed to carry years of worry. I know. Sebastian told me he would ask you. What do you think? I think you love him. I think he loves you. And I think love is enough. as long as you remember who you are. Don't lose yourself in his world, Bao Bao. I won't. I promise. Then I'm happy for you? Truly. Come visit soon so we can plan a proper wedding. After hanging up, I turned to find Sebastian watching me with an expression of such tenderness it made my chest ache. What? I asked, just thinking about how lucky I am, that you threw a drink at that asshole, that you were brave enough to give me a chance, that you didn't run when things got complicated. I thought about running, I admitted, multiple times. Your world is intimidating. So is yours. You think it's easy being the boyfriend, now fiancé, of someone who can demolish my favorite novel with 3 sentences of critical analysis? I laughed. That was once, and you loved that book even though it had serious structural issues. It had heart. Heart doesn't fix plot holes. He pulled me close. This is what I love about us. You don't let me get away with anything. Not sloppy thinking, not avoiding hard conversations, not hiding in my privilege. Someone has to keep you honest, and I get to spend the rest of my life being kept honest by the most brilliant, beautiful, stubborn woman I've ever known. I'd say I won. We spent the rest of the evening planning, dreaming, talking about the future. Sebastian wanted a small ceremony, family and close friends only. I wanted my mentor from college to officiate. We both wanted something intimate and meaningful, not a society spectacle. Though we will have to throw some kind of reception for business associates, Sebastian said apologetically. It's expected. As long as Natasha isn't invited. She's not, ever, to anything involving us. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of announcing the engagement, fielding congratulations, and beginning the strange process of wedding planning while maintaining our careers. My colleagues at the publishing house threw me a surprise party. Mia cried when I asked her to be my maid of honor. Sebastian's brothers flew in to celebrate, Marco immediately claiming best man status. We decided on a spring wedding, 6 months away, enough time to plan, but not so long that we'd lose momentum. The ceremony would be at a small chapel in Lake Forest, the reception at Sebastian's house in the suburbs that I'd never seen. You have a house in the suburbs? I bought it 3 years ago thinking I'd eventually have a family. It's been sitting mostly empty since then. Seemed like a waste. Show me. We drove out the following weekend, and the house took my breath away. It wasn't ostentatious like I'd feared. Instead, it was warm and welcoming, a modern farmhouse design with exposed beams and large windows. The property included 5 acres of woods and a small pond. It's beautiful, I breathed, walking through rooms that echoed with potential. It's ours if you want it. We could keep the penthouse for when we need to be in the city, use this as our real home. Raise kids here, if that's something you want. Kids. We hadn't talked about that yet. Do you want children? With you? Yes. Not right away. I want time with just us first. But eventually, I'd love to fill this house with noise and chaos and little people who have your brilliant mind and sense of justice. And your intensity and protective instincts. God help us all if they inherit that combination. We spent the afternoon walking the property, imagining our future. A vegetable garden like my mother's community plot, a reading nook in the upstairs library, a room that could be converted into a nursery when the time came. It felt real in a way the penthouse never had. This could be home, not just shelter, but the place where we'd build our life together. 3 weeks before the wedding, my world fractured. I was in the office late, reviewing final galleys for one of my debut authors, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Riley Chen. The voice was accented, Russian. This is Natasha Volkov. We need to talk. My blood went cold. I have nothing to say to you, but I have things to say to you. About Sebastian, about his past, about the man you're planning to marry. Whatever you think you know, I know he killed my cousin. The words hit like a physical blow. What? 5 years ago. My cousin Alexei worked for my father. There was a disagreement with Sebastian's father about territory, about respect. Alexei went to confront them, and he never came home. His body was found in the Chicago River 3 days later. You can't prove Sebastian had anything to do with that. Can't I? The police investigated, but suddenly all the evidence disappeared. Witnesses recanted. The case went cold. Very convenient for the Kane family. My hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know who you're marrying. Sebastian Kane isn't the legitimate businessman he pretends to be. His family has blood on their hands, and he's protected those secrets with money and influence. You think you know him, but you only know what he's chosen to show you. She hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone in the quiet office. It couldn't be true. Sebastian was intense, yes, and connected to dangerous people through his family's past. But he wasn't a killer. He couldn't be. Could he? I called him immediately. We need to talk. Tonight. What's wrong? You sound tonight, Sebastian. Please. He was waiting when I arrived at the penthouse, worry etched across his features. Riley, what happened? Tell me about Alexei Volkov. All the color drained from his face. How do you know that name? Natasha called me. She said you killed him, that your family covered it up. Sebastian closed his eyes. Fuck. I should have known she'd try something before the wedding. So it's true? It's complicated. Complicated how? Either you killed him or you didn't. I didn't kill him. He ran his hands through his hair, agitated. But I was there when he died. And yes, my father used his influence to protect me from the investigation. The room spun. I sat down heavily on the couch. Tell me everything. No more secrets, remember? He paced, collecting his thoughts. 5 years ago, I was managing one of my father's real estate development projects. Alexei Volkov approached me at a construction site, accused us of stealing his father's territory, demanded we pay tribute or face consequences. I told him to leave. He pulled a gun. Jesus, Sebastian. One of my father's security team was there, a man named Anton. Former Russian military, very loyal to my father. He saw the gun, reacted. There was a struggle. Alexei fired, the bullet went wild. Anton returned fire in self-defense. Alexei died at the scene. And the police? Anton would have been cleared. It was self-defense, caught on security cameras. But he was in the country illegally, working under a false identity. If the police investigated thoroughly, they'd discover that. And my father would be exposed for employing undocumented workers with questionable backgrounds. So, my father made the problem disappear. Made it disappear how? The security footage was erased. Anton was sent back to Russia with enough money to live comfortably. The police investigation hit dead ends because there was nothing to find. My father convinced Dmitry it was a tragic accident, paid compensation to the family, and everyone moved on. Everyone except Alexei, who's dead. He pulled a gun on me, Riley. What was supposed to happen? You were supposed to call the police, report it properly, let the system handle it. The system would have destroyed Anton's life and exposed my father's business practices. We did what we had to do to protect our people. I stared at this man I thought I knew, seeing him clearly for the first time. You covered up a death. You obstructed justice. You're exactly what Natasha said, a criminal pretending to be legitimate. That's not fair. I was 28 years old, dealing with a situation that spiraled out of control. My father made the decisions. I just went along with them because I didn't know what else to do. You could have told the truth and destroyed everything my parents built, sent Anton to prison for protecting me. Riley, there are no clean choices in situations like that, only less bad ones. I stood, needing distance. You should have told me. Before I agreed to marry you, before I built my life around you, you should have told me there was a dead body in your past. Would you have stayed if I had? The question hung between us, painful and honest. Would I have? If Sebastian had told me on that first date that his family had covered up a death, that he'd been present when someone was killed, would I have walked away? Probably. I don't know, I said finally, but I deserved the chance to make that choice. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have told you. But Riley, I was terrified of losing you. And this was the one thing I thought you wouldn't forgive. So you lied by omission. Yes. At least he wasn't denying it. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the heated penthouse. What else haven't you told me? What other bodies are buried in your family's history? Nothing like this, I swear. There are business dealings that exist in gray areas, relationships with people who have questionable backgrounds, but no more deaths. this was the worst of it. How do I believe you? How do I trust that you're telling me everything when you've already proven you'll keep secrets to protect yourself? He looked stricken. I don't know. I can only promise that from this moment forward, complete transparency. No more secrets, no more protection through ignorance. You've promised that before. And I broke it. I know, but Riley, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. I will do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. I looked at the engagement ring on my finger, the sapphire catching the light. 3 weeks until the wedding. Invitations sent, vendors booked, my mother flying in from Ohio next week. And now this? A dead man? A covered-up crime? Proof that Sebastian's world was exactly as dark as I'd feared. I need time, I said quietly. Time to process this, to figure out if I can live with knowing this about you. How much time? I don't know. Days, maybe weeks. I'll stay at my apartment. Don't call me, don't text. I'll reach out when I'm ready to talk. Riley, please. Sebastian, if you love me, you'll give me the space I need right now, because I'm about 2 seconds away from doing something we'll both regret. He nodded, defeated. Okay, whatever you need. But Riley, I love you. That's real, even if everything else feels complicated. I left without responding, taking only my purse and leaving behind the life we'd built together. I spent a week in my apartment, not answering calls or texts from anyone. Mia eventually showed up with wine and Chinese food, refusing to leave until I let her in. Okay, spill. Why did Sebastian Kane look like someone kicked his puppy at the charity breakfast this morning? You saw him? He was all over the society pages. He showed up alone, looking devastated, wouldn't talk to anyone. People are speculating that the wedding's off. I told her everything. Natasha's call, Sebastian's confession, the moral quagmire I found myself in. Mia listened without interrupting, then poured us both more wine. Okay, that's heavy. But Riley, here's what I don't understand. Why is this your breaking point? You knew Sebastian came from a dangerous world. You knew his family had mob connections. Why is this death the thing that's too much? Because he lied to me. Did he? Or did he just not tell you everything about his past? There's a difference. How is there a difference? Because we all have things in our past we're not proud of. Things we don't share until we're sure the person won't judge us for them. Sebastian was 28 when this happened, following his father's lead in a crisis situation. Is that really unforgivable? A man died, Mia. A man who pulled a gun on Sebastian. It sounds like self-defense that was handled badly. I wanted to argue, but part of me knew she was right. This wasn't cold-blooded murder. It was a tragic situation that spiraled out of control, handled by people trying to protect their own. What do? I asked quietly. You decide what you can live with. If Sebastian's past, including this, is something you can accept and move forward from, then you marry him and build a life together. If it's not, you walk away and know you made the right choice for yourself. That night, I made a list. 2 columns. Reasons to stay, reasons to leave. Reasons to stay. I love him. He loves me. He's been honest about everything else. He's trying to build something legitimate. He makes me happy. He challenges me to be better. He respects my career and independence. He's shown genuine remorse. The situation was self-defense gone wrong. Reasons to leave. He kept a major secret. His world is dangerous. There could be more revelations. I'll always wonder what else he's hiding. My mother's fears might be justified. I could lose myself in his world. The stay column was longer, more substantial, but the leave column carried more weight, more fear. I thought about my conversation with Sebastian 6 months ago, when I'd said I needed to prove I could succeed without him. I had proven that. My imprint was thriving, my career was flourishing. I didn't need Sebastian Kane's money or influence, but I wanted Sebastian the man. Flawed, complicated, trying to be better than his history. On the 8th day, I called him. Can you come over? He arrived within 20 minutes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The sight of him made my chest ache. Riley, come in. We need to talk. We sat across from each other at my small table, and I felt the weight of what I was about to say. I've spent the past week trying to